The kingdom of my divine will, in the midst of creatures. Book of Heaven, Volume 35, Part 12. January 24th, 1938. How our Lord departed for heaven and remained on earth in the tabernacles, in order to accomplish the kingdom of the divine will. One who lives in the divine will can say with Jesus, I leave and I stay. My flight in the divine volition continues, and while I was making my visit to Jesus in the sacrament, I wanted to embrace all the tabernacles and each sacramental host in order to live together with my prisoner Jesus. And I thought to myself, what a sacrifice! What a long imprisonment! Not of days, but of centuries. Poor Jesus! Were he at least requited. And my beloved Jesus, visiting my little soul, all immersed in his flames of love, told me, my good daughter, my first prison was love. Love imprisoned me so much that I had no freedom to breathe, to palpitate, or to operate, other than while remaining imprisoned in my love. So it was my love that imprisoned me inside the tabernacle, but with reason, and with highest and divine wisdom. Now you must know that the chains of my love made me depart from heaven in my incarnation. I left in order to descend upon earth in search of my children and brothers, to form for them, with my love, so many prisons of love as to make it impossible for them to leave. But while I departed, I remained in heaven, because my love, becoming my prison, bound me within the celestial regions. Now, having completed my office down here, I departed for heaven, and I remained imprisoned inside each sacramental host. But do you know why? Because my love, being my sweet imprisonment, told me, the purpose for which you descended from heaven to earth is not fulfilled. Where is the kingdom of our will? It does not exist, nor is it known. So remain in prison in each sacramental host. In this way, there will not be only one Jesus, as in your humanity, but as many Jesuses, or as many sacramental hosts as will exist. So many lives of yours will make a breach and a storm of love before the divinity, as well as breach and storm of love into each heart that will receive you. These lives will have a little word to say in order to make our will known, because when they descend into the hearts, they will not be mute, but speaking lives. And you will speak about our Fiat in the secret of their hearts. You will be the bearer of our kingdom. I recognized the demands of my love as just. Therefore, I willingly remained on earth in order to form the kingdom of my will unto completion of the work. You see, by departing for heaven while remaining on earth, my life, spread in many sacramental hosts, will not be useless down here. With certainty I will form the kingdom of my will, nor would I ever have stayed if I knew I was not going to obtain my intent. More so, since this is for me a sacrifice greater than my very mortal life. How many secret tears, how many bitter sighs, in the midst of so many flames of love that devour me. I would want to devour all inside my love, to make the souls who are to live in my divine volition rise again to new life. From the center of my love will this kingdom come out. My love will burn up the evils of the earth. It will rely upon itself. It will arm its omnipotence, and victory upon victory it will win our reign in the midst of creatures, to give it to them. But I was not satisfied with remaining a prisoner myself. My love, igniting me even more, made me choose you, to make you a prisoner, with chains so strong that you cannot escape me, as an outpouring of my love and company of my imprisonment, to be able to speak to you at length about my will, of its yearning and longing, for it wants to reign, and as a pretext for my love, to be able to say before the Supreme Majesty, a creature from the human race is already our prisoner. With her we speak about our will, to make it known and lay its kingdom within her. This prisoner is like a pledge for the whole human family, so that by right we must give our kingdom. I can say that each of my sacramental lives is also a down payment that I make for all of you, sufficient to secure my kingdom for my children. But to these many deposits of mine, my love wanted to add the deposit of a simple creature who carries the marks of my imprisonment, so as to reinforce the bonds between creature and creator, and therefore accomplish and fulfill the kingdom of our will in the midst of creatures. From each tabernacle my prayers are incessant, so that the creatures may know my will in order to let it reign. And everything I suffer, tears and sighs, I send to heaven in order to move the divinity to concede so great a grace. And I send it to every heart to move them to compassion for my tears and pains, to make them surrender, to receive a good so great. Jesus became silent, and I thought to myself, by making himself a prisoner, my dear Jesus made an act of heroism so great that only a God could do it. But while he is prisoner, he is also free. More so, since in heaven he is free and enjoys the fullness of his freedom. Not only this, but even on earth, how many times does he not come to me without his sacramental veils? But having imprisoned my poor existence, he has really done it this time. He knows in what a narrow prison he puts me, and how hard my chains are. Nor can I act like him, that while he is a prisoner, he is free. My prison is continuous. But while I was thinking this, he resumed his speech, saying, "My daughter, Poor daughter, you were given my same lot. When my love wants to do a good, it holds nothing back, neither sacrifices nor pains. It seems as if it wants to hear no reason. Its whole intent is to make the good at once arise. And besides, of course I had to do this. This was not about just any good, but about a kingdom of divine will to be established upon earth. This good will be so great that no other good can be compared to it. All other goods will be like many little drops before the sea, like little lights before the sun. Therefore, don't be surprised if I have really done it this time, as you say. Your continuous imprisonment entered as a necessity for my love, to keep me company, and to let me speak of the knowledges about my will, which I so much cherished and felt the need to make known. You must know that as I speak to you about it, my love repays you, and releases you from the shackles of your human will, setting you free within the fields of the dominions of the kingdom of my will. All the knowledges about it are directed to this: to unchain the creature from her will, from her passions, from her miseries. Therefore thank me for what I have disposed for you. My love will know how to repay you, and will take into account even a single breath of yours, and each instant of your imprisonment. After this, I continued to think about the prodigies of the divine volition, and my beloved Jesus added, "Daughter of my will, as your Jesus said, in descending from heaven to earth, I leave and I stay." In the same way, when he ascended into heaven, he said, "I stay and I leave." My same word repeats upon descending sacramentally into the creatures. I leave and I remain in the tabernacles. In the same way, the creature who lives in my will can repeat my same word in all her acts. As soon as she begins her act, so is her Jesus formed in her act. My life has the virtue of multiplying itself to infinity, as many times as I want. Therefore, in all truth she can say, I leave and I stay. I leave for heaven to beatify it, to reach my home, and to make known to every one my dear Jesus, whom I have enclosed in my act, so that they may enjoy him and love him, while it also remains on earth. There is a footnote about the word it referring to my act. While it, my act, also remains on earth, has life of mine, as well as support and defense for all my brothers. How beautiful one act in my will! Fiat. January 30th, 1938. Everything that one who lives in the divine will does acquires the divine nature. Its prodigies in creating divine life in the human act. Feast for the whole of heaven. The true requital of all creation. My poor mind swims inside the sea of the divine volition. Its murmuring is continuous. But what does it murmur? Love, souls, light. for it would want to invest and reign in each of its children. And oh, what stratagems of love it uses in order to make them re-enter into the bosom of its light, from which they came. And in its sorrow it says, my children, let me reign, and I will give you so much grace that you will recognize yourselves as children of your celestial Father. But as my mind was wandering within this divine sea, my dear Jesus, my sweet life, renewed his short little visit, and all goodness told me, my little daughter of my divine volition, so many are the yearnings and the longings of my will, for it wants to operate in the act of the creature, that it begins spying to see whether the soul calls it as prime act of her acts. And if it is called, it becomes festive. It runs, and blowing its breath into the act of the creature, it impresses its creative strength and converts it into divine nature. So this creature feels the nature of the divine love investing her, surrounding her, and flowing like blood inside her veins, even in the marrow of her bones, in the beating of her heart. Hence, her entire being says nothing but love. To convert the human acts into divine nature, these are the greatest prodigies that my divine will can do. My will cannot give but what it possesses. Love it possesses, and love does it give. And oh, how happy this creature feels, that she can see and feel nothing but love, nor can she be without loving. By giving the nature of love to the creature, my will has placed her in the divine order. Everything is harmony between God and her. It can be said that my will has cast the creature into our own maze of love. So if she adores, thanks, or blesses, its divine strength runs in order to change the adoration, the thanksgiving, and the blessing into divine nature. Therefore, the creature has it in her power, as her own nature, to always adore, thank, and bless the Supreme Majesty, because what my will communicates by nature possesses the continuous act that never ceases. So we keep her at our disposal. Our love finds one who loves it with its own love, and if it feels the need to pour itself out, it has one with whom it can make its outpouring. Our Majesty finds its eternal adorations in the creature, as she can really say to it, a divine thank you, a divine I bless you. In sum, we find someone who can give us of our own. And oh, how we love this more than celestial creature. She keeps us always in activity, as we can give her whatever we want. And for us to give is to be more blissful and happy. On the other hand, one who does not live in our volition keeps us as though idle, without activity. And if we give something, all is measured, because we do not know where to put it, and we fear that she will waste it and will not be able to appreciate the little that we give. Then, with even stronger yearning, he added, my good daughter, The prodigies which my fiat operates in the act of the creature who lives in it are unheard of. As it sees that she is about to do it, my fiat runs to take the act in its hands. It purifies it, molds it, and invests it with light. Then it looks at it to see if that act can receive its sanctity and its beauty, if it can enclose it within its immensity, if it can let its power and its love flow within it. And once it has done everything, because nothing must be lacking to its act, it kisses it, embraces it, and pouring itself all over it with indescribable solemnity and love, it pronounces its omnipotent fiat, and creates its very self in that act. The heavens stand at attention when my will is about to operate in the act of the creature. They are moved. They remain stupefied and enraptured, and they exclaim, "Is it possible that a God, with his will thrice holy, can reach so much love, to the extent of creating himself in the act of the creature?" My very fiat looks back at what it has done in the human act, and feels captivated, delighted in seeing its new life, and taken by indescribable joy, it makes feast for the whole of heaven, and abounds in pouring out graces over all the earth. I call these acts my life, my act, echo of my power, the prodigies of my love. My daughter, make me content. These are the joys of my creation, the feasts of my creative virtue. To be able to form as many lives of mine, for as many acts as the creature does. Therefore, call me always into your acts. Never put me aside, and I will always make new things in you, such as to astound all peoples. Only when I have filled heaven and earth with many of my new lives, then will I receive the requital and the glory of all creation. Fiat. February 7th, 1938. How God does not love force, but spontaneity. Display of opulence, lavishness, and sumptuousness that the divine volition will make in those who live in it. How creation is not finished. I am under the empire of the divine volition. Its creative virtue has such strength that it makes its sweet empire felt over the poor creature, who sweetly, not being forced, harmonizes with the fiat, and gives it full freedom to do whatever it wants. Even more she says to it, "How honored I feel that you want to make a portent out of my being, but so much that you want to use your creative and operative strength inside my poor soul." But as my mind was immersed in receiving the creative virtue of the divine fiat, my always lovable Jesus, surprising me with his short little visit, with unspeakable love, told me, "Daughter of my will, how beautiful is my fiat as it operates with its creative virtue. You have seen how it does not use violence, but sweetness, but an irresistible sweetness, maybe more than violence itself. With its sweetness, it embalms the creature, making her feel the beauty of the divine in such a way that she herself says, "Hurry, Holy Will, do not delay any longer. I feel myself languishing if I do not see you operating in me with your creative virtue." My daughter, we have never liked forced things or a forced will, or rather, we don't even want them. They very much reek of human and do not fit either with our love or with our works, where everything is spontaneity and full will. As we want, we yearn to do a good, and we do it. And therefore we do it with such fullness of love and of grace that no one can match us. So much so that if we don't see spontaneity and the willingness to receive the good that we want to do in the creature, we don't do anything. At the most, we wait, making her feel our sighs, our longing. But we do not move to operate, not before we see her wanting to receive with love the work of her Creator. Now you must know that the life of our will keeps growing in the creature for each act she does in it. And when she reaches the fullness that everything is my will in her, then we begin the display of our love, of our graces, in such a way that, in each instant, we give her new love and new surprising graces. We show our divine pomp, the opulence, the lavishness of our stratagems of love. Everything we do to her carries the imprint of the bounty of her Creator. When the soul is filled with our divine will, we hold nothing back. What we have, we give, and whatever she wants is hers. The lavishness we show is such that we make a note of our divine melodies flow in each of her acts, so that not even our music may be lacking in her. And she often plays to us the beautiful little sonatas of our divine notes. And oh, how delighted we feel! Our harmonies and divine sounds harmonizing for us. You must know that for one who lives in our will, we surpass the lavishness, the pomp, the opulence, and sumptuousness we used in creation. Everything was abundance, abundance of light that no one can measure, extension of heavens, lavishness of beauties, adorned with many stars. Each thing was created with such abundance, invested with such splendor of magnificence, that each of them has no other need of the other. Rather, all can give without the need to receive. Only the human will puts limits and constraints on the creature, casting her into miseries, and preventing my goods from giving themselves to them. Therefore, I anxiously await that my will be known, and that creatures live in it. Then will I make such display of lavishness, and each soul will be a new creation, beautiful, but one distinct from the other. I will amuse myself. I will act as the insuperable artisan. I will put out my creative art. Oh, how I long for this! How I want it! How I yearn for it! Indeed, creation is not finished. I have yet to do my most beautiful works. Therefore, my daughter, let me work. And do you know when I work? When I manifest to you a truth on my divine will. Then immediately I act as the artisan, and with my creative hands I work in you, so that that truth may become life inside your soul. And oh, how I enjoy myself in this work! The soul becomes like soft wax in my hands, and I shape in her the life that I want. Therefore, be attentive and let me do it. Fiat. You have reached the end of the Book of Heaven, Volume 35, Part 12. Fiat.